Welcome to this episode of Kyber Clips. I'm Mike Giuffrida, president of Cybersecurity, joined again by Bob Thomas, CIO, CISO for our clients. Hello, Bob.
Thanks for having me again, Mike.
Yeah, thank you for
cool.
being here again.
Yeah.
Today we are going to talk a little bit about the NIST Cybersecurity Framework, the National Institute of Standards and Technology Cybersecurity Framework, which I like to call the NIST CSF because it's easier to say.
It is.
Talk to me about why this exists. What is this thing?
So the government created this. So the National Institute of Standards and Technology, a government institution, created this years ago in order to give all sorts of businesses. This is not focused on medical or financial. This is a framework that people can follow to protect their systems, their data, and do it in a way that is in alignment with, is what everybody says, because it's a framework and not a compliance. But it doesn't dictate exactly how you're going to do something. It talks about how you should be protecting things without getting incredibly specific, using this exact tool to do this. It follows a circle that we're going to talk about.
So you mentioned that it's not industry specific. How about business size?
I think that's the other reason it was created. It was not specific. You're a 5-user, very small business. You're a Fortune 1000 company. Either of those and anywhere in between can use this as their guidelines for protecting their information. I think that's probably the most important thing to understand about it.
Okay. So you mentioned the wheel.
The wheel.
We love the wheel. Why don't we walk through, let's start from the beginning, and I guess I should be specific that we are talking about the Cybersecurity Framework version 1.1 here today.
Correct. Yeah.
There is a proposed 2.0, but it's not finalized. We'll cover that when that does get finalized.
Yeah,
So we're just going to
that's
handle
coming.
We're going to handle the 1.1 wheel today, starting with identifying. What does that mean?
So how do you protect anything unless you know what you have? You have to have some sort of system in place to say these are all the things, and it's not just hardware. This isn't, I have computers and I have them on a list, or I have an agent on them that tells me I should know about them and protect them. This is data, this is applications, this is facilities, this is what do I have that I have to protect. If I don't identify it first, I will never protect it in its entirety.
So this sounds like it covers people, process, and technology.
Oh,
This is not just a technology.
Yeah, no, it is.
Tool.
I think it's very easy nowadays to do the technology part because you can put an agent on a network and tell it to go out there and find everything, and it'll draw you a fancy diagram and it'll say, here's all your stuff. Okay, what runs on that stuff? That's another layer. Okay, you can take in a software inventory. That's important to have. Know what you have out there. Are you licensed properly? Are you updating the software? But then you've got to get to data. Where is the data along with that software? It may not be scattered around on machines. It may be in servers. Who knows where they are? In your office, in the cloud, scattered across multiple cloud data centers. And then you've got to get to facilities and understand exactly what you have. And then let's go to people. How do you do all this without people and understanding their position and their role?
Great. So now I know what I have, because there's a great overall organizational inventory. We get to protect.
Yes, we get to protect. So, look, you have all this stuff. Let's talk about a baseline thing, an alarm system. How do you protect the 4 walls where we're standing in our office right now? And yes, do we have an alarm system? Yes. Is it connected to a central station monitor 24/7, 365? Yes. Okay, so we've got notification and protections in place based on how do we keep eyes on this. We've got cameras. These are all protections. Now you can get to the computers themselves and anything that's running on them, whether they're here or up in a data center off premise. I've got endpoint protection. Everybody used to call antivirus. That's a protection. I've got Office 365. How do I protect it? Well, I've got to monitor it. I've got to know who's in there. I've got to have multi-factor authentication to make sure that hopefully bad people can't get in there by just stealing somebody's credentials or finding somebody's credentials. There needs to be a methodology for protecting each piece of your environment, whether that's physical environment, technology, digital environment. How do you protect the data that's on your servers? How do you make sure that it's in 3 different places? That's a standard requirement. 3 different places, 2 different technologies. All those types of things have to be in place so that when you have an issue, you have a failure, you can recover. And we're going to follow the bouncing ball here.
You can't jump to the end of the
I know,
wheel.
I can't
Stop
go
it.
You can't get there yet.
All right, so we've identified everything we had. We got to the second wedge. So now we know how we're going to protect it. Now we get to the third wedge, detect. What's this all about?
So detection, you could call it detection, you could call it monitoring and alerting. This is how do I figure out what's happening on the network? How do I keep eyes on it? How do I find out when there's a problem so that I can react? I mentioned Microsoft 365. This is an easy one to describe. We put a tool on Microsoft's 365 environment. We say, anytime this happens, and this means 100,000 different things that we're monitoring for, somebody creates a forwarding rule. That's probably not something that's done every single day by every single user. Maybe it happens once a year, once a month. Okay, who created it? Why did they create it? Was there really a business need for it? That's an alert creation. I'm watching, I'm monitoring, I send an alert to a security operations center. They say, these logs, a forwarding rule? Really? I don't think so. I think that's a red alert automatically raised to us, and we verify that it was actually requested and not somebody trying to, create some nefarious behavior and start forwarding messages to themselves someplace. I think that's a good example of trying to understand we have a protection in place. Okay, that's great, you have the protection. How do we know when something's happening? How are we going to respond if we don't know?
Gotcha. Which, nice lead in, brings us to wedge number 5, respond. Wedge number 4, respond. Sorry, it would be 5 in the 2.0.
That's right.
I shouldn't have done that homework before this.
So everybody, when something happens and it's created, let's just say an outage or an alert of some sort, how are you responding to that? How are you reacting? In our world, when we get notifications like that, that's inside 15 minutes, somebody has to be looking at a quote unquote red alert. Those are going right to triage. Triage looks at them and says, okay, I'm assigning that to an engineer right now or a help desk person because it's a critical item. How is that response happening? Again, follow the bouncing ball. If we contact the client, we find out that somebody did not intentionally create that forwarding rule that I used as an example. Okay, you're getting bounced out of the system, Microsoft 365, your account's getting shut down, we're going into action right now, and we're kicking you out, maybe everybody out, and every single one of the devices that you use to attach to your email or to SharePoint or to Teams, whatever the problem application is. And then we're going to reset your password. We're going to reset your multi-factor authentication. We're going to get you logged back in, and we're going to look at the logs and say, did we lose anything? Did any data get exfiltrated? We need to figure out right then and there. That's a response.
Gotcha. All right.
Response could be backup and recovery. We need to go to backup.
We're not at recovery yet. We're just getting to recover. We're getting to wedge number 5. I know this is where you really wanted to go, which is recover, right? And when we talk about recover, generally this is get operations back to normal procedure, right?
This is back to status quo.
Back to status quo.
Yep.
So what's included in the recover step?
So I think a lot of people think of recover, okay, just let's get back up and running. Whether that's limping along, maybe we're missing data, that system is not critical, but we'll need it at some point. Recover means everything, just like you said, Mike. We need all systems back up and running, and we need to be whole. Okay, if we need to restore from backup, that's part of it. If we restore from backup, we're going back to a point in time. What did we miss? What did we lose? What's gone by the wayside that we need to recover? Okay, well, we need to repost 3 hours. We missed 3 hours of transactions by going back.
This sounds like it goes right back to the BCDR conversation
Does.
we had in a prior episode, which is about business operations, criticality,
Yeah.
and getting the operation back up to full operational status.
Yeah, and I think as part of that, during that whole response piece of the puzzle, you've got to figure out what's been impacted. And then once you figured out, oh, this system's been impacted, but it's going to involve a restore of that system and maybe something else, that's dictating how you recover and how long it's going to take to recover. And then, you want to follow it a step further. Okay, how well did it go? Did we learn anything? And now do we update that BCDR plan?
Right.
Did something really not go perfectly in that whole response and recover scenario? Yeah, lessons learned. What did we learn? How do we update our plan? How do we test our plan better?
So obviously this is a deep topic. We work with this a lot. 110 controls we tried to cover in 10 minutes by hitting the wedge of identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. We do have a self-assessment that folks can utilize. We can throw a link down below that you can use to be able to do a quick assessment for yourself. It certainly would not be a full assessment, but thank you for joining us on this episode of Kyber Clips. Hi, thanks for joining us today on Kyber Clips. I hope you enjoyed the information. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to our channel. You can comment below, or you can always reach out to us at sales@kybersecure.com. Hope you have a great day.